So I decided to record a slightly longer version of my Wizards of the Coast Content Creator Summit video because there's already capital D discourse going on about it, and the one that I posted on TikTok was kind of last second and brief, and TikTok makes me anxious because it's so short. But I guess some of the questions that I've got so far. One was, how did I get invited? I got an email out of the blue that actually, I can tell you exactly when I got it. I got this email on March 6th, and I can actually read you the content of the email. I'm not going to use any specific names or anything because I don't know these people very well, and I'm not trying to blow up anybody's spot. But this is how this has gone so far. So, hello adventurers, we hope you're having an excellent week. In December of 2022, our team had the opportunity to attend PAX Unplugged and interact with tons of members of the creator community. Something that came up consistently in these conversations was a desire from you, parentheses, the community we serve, to have more chances to see Wizard staff in person, more chances to provide feedback on how our team can improve the experience of making D&D content, and more chances to see what's next for D&D. The D&D Creator Relations team has been cooking up some new ideas for how we can best meet these goals, and we'd love to invite you the first step. We are excited to invite you to join us this April 3rd in person at our office for our team's first Content Creator Summit. This event will be a chance to see some of what our teams have been working on, including the D&D VTT and the D&D rules update, ask questions, give feedback, and connect with members of our studio and content teams. There will be no content requirements, nor will Wizards be taking or using any footage, photos, or recordings for any purpose. Any information we share with you during this summit, you are free to share with your community. Additionally, our team will cover your travel, lodging, and per diem costs for this event. Whether you've been a member of the D&D community for decades or are a newer member of the party, we are excited beyond belief to welcome you into our home. Please let us know if you are interested in participating or have any questions that we can help answer. Best wishes, the D&D Creator Relations team, formerly the D&D Influencer team. So, that was the initial email that I got reaching out. I sent them back an email saying, I'd love to join you. I initially thought that the reason they must be reaching out to me is because of my work with 3 Black Halflings, which 3BH knows the only reason that they're even remotely connected into this is because that's who I was doing PAX Unplugged with. I am not necessarily directly working with 3BH anymore, at least like I'm not on a payroll with them anymore. We're still friends. I love those guys. And I might do stuff with them in the future. It's just a matter of like, who has money to pay for stuff? Nobody. So that's just where that is. If y'all want to throw money at 3BH and tell them to rehire me, go for it. I would love to keep working with them. But basically, what I was doing at PAX Unplugged is Jeremy Cobb and I and London Carlisle were on a panel together. We did a live show of my friend Eric, which was a ton of fun. If you were there, there was some impromptu singing by yours truly. And yeah, so that was PAX Unplugged. As I said in my other video, I had reached out to somebody on the influencer team at Wizards who happened to be an alumni of a school that I also went to. We connected, we talked a little bit about how much we both missed the local food, and then I said, hey, are you going to be at PAX Unplugged? Do you want to meet up? They mentioned that there was going to be a few events, and so they hooked Jeremy and I up with some very basic goodies. Like, it was like, we got a copy of Dragonlance, a small notebook, and a few pencils, I think, was what we got from them. And we got reserved seats to the main stage panel. That was about the sum of what we got. And then we did some other stuff with some other companies while we were there, but mostly my intent in reaching out to those guys was to see if I could get them to maybe like buy advertising space on 3BH or stuff like that. None of that ended up going any further. It was just me kind of like exploring what the options are. Again, I was just doing kind of freelance contracting work for 3BH. I'm not trying to implicate them in anything at all. As far as I know, when I emailed back to the creator relations team on the 6th, they actually emailed me on the 2nd. So I got back to them on the 6th saying, hey, I'm reaching out to the rest of the halflings to let them know about this, blah, blah, blah. I'm the only one that's based full-time in the U.S. Everybody else in the halflings is based in the U.K. And I told them there was another organization I wanted to put on their radar. If you know my work at all, you know that I've also been working with GirlsRunTheseWorlds, which is a great channel, and you should definitely check them out. So I mentioned GirlsRunTheseWorlds to them. When they emailed me back, they said, no, we were specifically inviting you, and everybody else that you mentioned is going to go onto our digital list. So here's exactly what they said to me. Hi, Joan. I'm really happy you're interested in the summit. Right now, we are going through the list of creators, but due to strict restrictions based on office capacity size, we would only be able to have you come out in person. We do still want your team to participate, so I can coordinate with the rest of them for the digital side of the event so their voices can still be heard. If that is okay with you, please let me know. As for the other group, I really appreciate you vouching for them. I will send these details to Wizards and see if we can get them added to the digital list as well. And then I clarified one more time, because I didn't want to feel like I was taking a spot from someone that it was intended to go to. I mentioned the other members of 3 Black Halflings, and I clarified, what my relationship was currently with the halflings versus what I do on my own versus what I did with the halflings. And they emailed me back one more time, and they said, I just talked it over with Wizards, and the 3 Black Halflings are already on the digital list for outreach in the next week or two. Since there's not a lot of time before the event and flight coordination can be a bit difficult, this in-person invite is just for you. We do hope everyone else is able to join us digitally, as it is very important everyone's voice is heard. I know these lists were created for a reason, so I'm sure you must do great work, as humble as you are. Please let me know if you are indeed interested and these dates work for you, blah, 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 blah. And so I said, excellent, I just wanted to do my due diligence, and I said, I'm on board. So then they sent me to their travel coordinator. The travel coordinator emailed me and said, our general plan is to fly creators to Seattle on Sunday, April 2nd. The summit will then take place on the 3rd, Monday the 3rd. Each creator will be given the choice to either fly home on Tuesday, April 4th, or stay an extra day to explore Seattle and the local area, and instead fly home Wednesday, April 5th. Our team will cover your travel, lodging, and per diem costs for this event. Each creator will need to present a credit card at check-in at the hotel to keep on file with the hotel for any incidentals charged to the room, which is pretty standard if you ever travel in a hotel. Creators staying 2 nights will have a total per diem for the trip of $275, and those staying 3 nights will have $325. All 3 nights of the hotel will be covered for those wishing to stay until April 5th. We anticipate around $175 of that will need to be used for transportation purposes, then the rest will be used for meals. A full hot breakfast is included every morning with your hotel stay, and both lunch and dinner will be provided at the event on April 4th. If you would like to move forward, please send the following information, blah, blah, blah. And so I chose to stay the extra day because I don't currently have a day job, except for being pregnant. One thing that weird transition, sorry. Basically, aside from what you might know me for in terms of having done some work with 3BH and being on APs on some charity spots. I did a couple of one-shots with some channels, and with Girls Run These Worlds. Mythic Theros mid-season break is over and starts back again this Sunday, so come check us out. But aside from that, I'm also a PhD student, PhD candidate. I passed my candidacy in early 2020, in January of 2020, and so my dissertation got all fucked up by the pandemic, and I've had a lot of obstacles in trying to complete it, and it's gone through a couple of different iterations because I needed to adjust to what I could do within the boundaries of the pandemic, and because I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in my second year, and so my disabilities have always been part of the struggle. Because I'm pregnant, I'm currently on a leave of absence until about 3 months after the baby is born. So I should theoretically, please God, finish and get the actual letters after my name in the spring of 2024. Another video, another time for the trials and tribulations of grad school. But that said, I figured this might give you all a more full idea. This is the sum total of all of the information that I have gotten so far from Wizards about this event, aside from my personal details, like they sent me my flight details. They booked the flight really quickly after we got going, and they reached out to me to get my PayPal information to send me the money for the per diem, which is nice because a lot of the times when I've done stuff with academia, even with my own institution, you have to pay up front and then you get reimbursed. But in this case, they're going to send us the money ahead of time, which is great. I recognize that might pose a conflict of interest for some people, but for me, as somebody with an incredibly small footprint and no real platform to speak of, it's, if I wasn't getting this money up front and if I wasn't getting everything covered by them, I absolutely would not be able to go. I can't even afford to buy diapers right now for this baby that's due in August. My baby had the audacity to be due the weekend of Gen Con, so meh. The reality of the situation is I've seen a handful of the creators who have been invited so far. A lot of us are under 2,000 followers. I'm currently at about 1,400 on Twitter, last I checked, which before I started working with 3 Black Halflings, I was under 1,000. So it's taken a little bit under a year for me to go with the participation, because shortly before I started working with 3 Black Halflings, basically what happened is I got 3 Black Halflings got recommended to me on Spotify as just something I should check out, and I was feeling really burned out from my dissertation and stuff, and I wanted to see more Black folks in tabletop, and I saw that. I thought it was really cool. I listened to the Wagadu Chronicles on 3 Black Halflings and was like, holy shit, this is dope. And so I got more into it, and then I was like, this is something I really want to do, so I reached out. Jasper had been talking about how they were getting an influx of attention and needed some help, and so I said, hey, this is right up my alley. I've been talking about TTRPGs a little bit in my dissertation, and I would love to be on the show. I would love to talk to you guys. So we did a series of things. I have a playlist that I can link to in the description for this that has my episodes with 3 Black Halflings. We also did a collaboration that's not quite done yet. Backing up a little bit. So I did a Shire Folk Spotlight with 3 Black Halflings, which is their, here's a member of the community, and they have an interesting story with tabletop, and let's talk to them and hear about what their story is. And that went really well. We had a lot of fun. My little claim to fame on there is that I have the 3rd longest running D&D campaign that I've ever heard of, because I know of a game that's been running for 40 plus years, that there was a mini doc someone did on that a while back. I'll see if I can find it and put the description in the doobly-doo. I know that Brennan Lee Mulligan's home game has been going for somewhere between 10 and 15 years, and my home game just celebrated its 10th birthday this past winter. So my home game started during just before the power outage from Hurricane Sandy in Long Island. Some 3 Black Halflings members, friends of the show, might know, because they're a little bit affiliated with Stony Brook University, right around that area. That's where my husband grew up, and his mother is a nurse at the Stony Brook Hospital, which is affiliated with the university, and his best friend owned a retro game shop there called Revolution Games that some friends of the show had played at. Well, when that shop was first being opened, it was empty, and during the power outage, we got to use it as our personal D&D HQ, which was really fun. And so my husband was in a full Mario costume because it was over Halloween, and DMing some of our earliest sessions for us, which was really fun. We started at level 1, using 3.5 edition. Most of us, I had some very basic knowledge. Like, if you listen to my Shire Folk Spotlight episode, my first ever encounter with D&D was 2nd edition, when I was way too young to know what was going on, like 6-ish. But then I didn't play again for a long time until college, and my first game in college was GURPS, so the General Universal Role Playing System. And I played in a short-lived campaign with that for a little while, and then once I was with my husband and we had moved back to Long Island, we were looking around for somebody to play with us, and we finally convinced our regular board gaming guys to play with us when we all read Ready Player One, the novel. That was many, many years before the film came out, which I haven't seen the film still, but I heard it's not a great adaptation. But the main point of that book is that it convinced our friends to play D&D. And so I have a character in that named Senna. That's where my username comes from. Senna is the name for the character that I've been playing in every role-playing game since... And she originally started as a Harry Potter BB message board role-playing character. So even when I wasn't playing your typical tabletop games, I was still doing a lot of roleplay. And so it was a play-by-post BB message board. Senna Silvertongue was a Slytherin. She was on the Quidditch team. Her dad was a Death Eater, but she was trying real hard not to be one. And I was experimenting with pulling from African traditions to make wizarding magic that would be different from the sort of European-based traditions that a lot of Harry Potter was based on. This was when I was like 13, 14, 15 years old, so before the books were even finished. These days, I don't F with J.K. Rowling at all. Personally, I was done with her as soon as she started talking about Ilvermorny and how indigenous Americans didn't know how to use wands until Europeans taught them. That was when my level of bullshit meter for her started to go off the rails, and we don't even need to get into what she's done since then. But that's where Senna came from. Originally, the picture I used for her was Zoe Saldana, because around that same time, Pirates of the Caribbean came out, and I was like, there's a black lady pirate in this show, and she's a badass, and I like her, so she's gonna be Senna. And so Senna was also the name for all of my Dragon Age characters, so I have Senna Hawk, I have Senna Shepherd, I have Senna the Inquisitor, Senna the Grey Warden, I have Senna the Hero of Hyrule, that's just Senna. She shows up in different universes, and she's a version of me. I've been thinking, so when I did my second master's degree at NYU, I had a class called Memoir and Ethnography, and for part of that class I wrote about Dungeons and Dragons and our home game, and identification versus disidentification with my character, and I recently found that document, and so I might pull that out and start sharing it a little bit and see, if people have any interest in hearing it. We'll see how well it aged. But anyways, to get back to the topic of the Creator Summit, Wizards of the Coast, this was all just to give a little bit of background on who I am and what my background with D&D is, for those of you who don't know who I am. But to me, it's valuable that Alright, let me put it this way. So, I recently got a chance to catch up on my 3BH episodes that I hadn't heard yet. And one of the episodes was the interview with Kyle something for a last name. He has a last name. I don't remember what it is. He was an executive producer of the creative team at Wizards, and he went on Three Black Halflings shortly after the OGL controversy to answer questions and talk about stuff. And I know Liv and Jeremy said they were disappointed with some of what he said. I feel like I'm a little bit more ambivalent than they are, in that I believe that corporations are shitty. And by that I mean that I believe that corporations are incompetent. I feel like every time you introduce an extra layer of administration into something, there's another opportunity for miscommunication and for someone that's actually just not that great at their job, or someone who's fine at most parts of their job but sucks at some aspects of it, or just for like minor stupid misunderstandings. Also, corporations are freaking slow. Do I think that they fucked up with the OGL? Yes, obviously. You can go back and look at my tweets. You can go back and look at Jeremy and I and our friend Navar from Secret Nerd Podcast did an episode about the Hadozi before that was coming out, and I was critical of them during that, but like I am in general, I tend to be measured in my criticisms because I'm trying to A, recognize that there are real people behind these, and a lot of the times real people make mistakes, and B, that I blame, when there is any usefulness to putting blame on something, I think that blame most readily sits with the institution or the system, or sometimes even just capitalism itself. Anytime something is for profit and there's stakeholders involved, the motivations behind things get dirty. But it doesn't mean that people aren't earnestly trying to be and do good. That sound would be the sound of my dog scratching her ear or something. She's looking at me now like, Mama, why are you calling me out? It's because you're making noise on my video. But, that doesn't mean that I think that they're pure innocent, but I'm also not going to jump to pure evil either. At the end of the day, most people are just like me, trying to make enough money to put diapers on their baby's butt. And I am certainly not making any money off of this, full disclosure, because I'm not working, because I'm disabled, because I'm on leave. my income right now is my mother sends me $125 a week for groceries and shit, and then I do Instacart for any other money that I want. I recently maybe sort of kind of got a job writing listicles for a gaming website that will pay me about $20 an article. And yeah, so yeah, I make dirt. I don't make any money. My husband is a medical assistant at a local hospital doing cardiothoracic stuff. He makes not very good money either, but at least we have health insurance. But, you know, we're doing our freaking best. We like to play games. It would be great if eventually I could parlay this into making enough money to support my kid. I already had to wait until I was 35 just to try. And, you know, I just want, you know, a basic life. I'm not trying to be famous. It'd be cool as hell if I got to play in a game on like a Dimension 20 or something like that, but I'm not holding out for that. I just like to play D&D. That's all there is to it. I also have never been to Seattle. Would love to spend a day exploring Seattle. If someone offers me free money to go explore Seattle, I don't see a good reason to turn it down, except for, I guess that's part of what my issue is with all the criticism is, what, if you put yourself in my shoes as someone who has a very minimal social media following, is not making any money whatsoever off of any of this, is just doing it for the sake of having fun doing it and being able to participate in this community and maybe once in a while meet some cool people, then how was I supposed to respond to this? If the idea is we want Wizards to do more to earn back the trust that they lost from the OGL, and their first attempt at doing that is by holding an event, should they have not offered to pay for everything? Well, in that case, marginalized people would have not had as much access to this. I am a disabled, pregnant, black, queer woman and unemployed. There's no way I would have been able to go if it wasn't all expenses paid. And I think if it had been, hey, we're inviting you to this is how much it's going to cost, that would have come off really, really bad. Should they not have an event at all? Well, I guess that's one approach to it, but then what do you want them to do instead? And then that becomes a sort of open question of like, well, I don't know, figure it out. But it's like, okay, this is what they're attempting. I want to at least give it a chance. I think that I'm not sure that there was any intent from Wizards on how people were going to find out about this, because I think what happened is that one or two people said that they were invited on Twitter, and then everybody took that as permission to say that they were also invited. And I think because it's easy, a lot of people just sort of more or less copied the same language. And so that's why it maybe looked like we got given copy, but I already just read you the entire content of everything that they've sent to me about this so far, so this is what I've gotten. I can't speak to how identical or different my correspondence has been from everybody else's, but that's what I got. As far as my pre-existing relationship with Wizards, doesn't really exist. Like I said, I had reached out to somebody on the influencer team for some stuff at PAX Unplugged because we happen to be alumni of the same school. And I have one friend who I worked at the New York Renaissance Festival with, who is actually more friends with my husband, because they played Friar Tuck and Maid Marian against each other at the New York Renaissance Fair. circa 2013, 2014. And I played I think I played a 4th edition game with her and a few friends, some of the rest of the Robin Hood band. I wasn't in the Robin Hood band, I was a fairy queen. But she's on the Magic the Gathering team, but like I said in my TikTok, I don't know the first thing about Magic the Gathering, except that there are some cards that are also from D&D. I actually know way more about Hearthstone than I do about Magic. If there was a Hearthstone physical card game, I would be in trouble, because I have no money, as I stated before. Let's see, what else? Trying to remember what kinds of other questions were coming up. This video is already 30 minutes long, and it's just been me talking at the camera, so if you're still here, I appreciate you for listening. I guess the last thing I will just say is about the dialogue. Oh yeah, I was kind of going over, like, alternatives, and sort of the idea that by participating at all, those of us that are going are clout chasing or whatever. I mean, I guess clout chasing is just a derogatory way of saying networking, or a judgment-laden way of describing participation in this culture. But if you're, reading it, if you're paying attention to it, if you're on the social media as well, if you're upset that you didn't get invited, which I totally understand. I would be sad if I hadn't been invited too, and I was finding out about it secondhand, but, I think that that's just a way of externalizing that negativity onto those of us that did get invited, and, for some of us, this is, the first time we're really getting any real notice or traction, and for some of us, this might mean the difference between having a career and not. And like I said, for me, that means putting diapers on my baby's butt. I can tell you it's going to be a cute butt, just because I have a cute butt. But anyway, I don't know. I'm just trying to be transparent, be generous of spirit, and be active in the community. It'd be cool if we lived in a society where no one had to worry about how they were gonna pay their next medical bill, or feed themselves, or whatever, but we do. And within that context, I don't think there's anything wrong with accepting an invite for a 3-day trip to Seattle to go to this summit. I think that my wish would be that people would be slightly less quick to judge, especially to judge the individuals versus the institutions. I would hope that instead of reporting on how things must be, or what they feel is implied by something, they would wait until there's actual information to report on. This is not urgent, developing news. This is not anybody's life or death circumstances. There's no reason that we can't wait until the actual event to start talking about how good or bad it is. And just, keep in mind that there are real people with real emotions who are dealing with things like imposter syndrome, depression, anxiety, people who are seeing themselves get some recognition for the first time, and then having the community immediately hit them with a bunch of backlash. And yes, I'm talking about myself, but I'm also talking about a lot of other people in the community who have equally small followings, and I'm study empathy, so I'm able to talk about the emotional impact it has, but not everybody can, and not everybody wants to, and not everybody should have to. Yeah, I don't know. I just hope this clears some stuff up. I hope that we can all be kind to each other, as corny as that might sound. I think I don't know. Be kind and have courage. That I stole that from the live action Cinderella. Because Cinderella's mom was played by Agent Carter. And if you know, you know. Alright. I'm done. I'm done talking. Love you guys. Hopefully this was useful to anybody at all. If so, just hit me up, leave me a comment, let me know. Ask questions. I'll try to answer all the questions. I will try to keep being transparent about this, including all up to and through the summit. And if anybody wants to pay me actual money so I can put diapers on my baby's butt, let me know. Love ya, bye.